Hello, listeners, and thank you for joining us on the podcast channel where good health hits home. Our guest today is Rachel. Happens to be my sister-in-law, who's 34 years old, originally from Buffalo, New York. She has 3 children, now resides in Bradenton, Florida. Got into the CBD business in 2018 after CBD helped subside symptoms from her Crohn's disease. Since opening the first Your CBD store in March of 2018, the brand has grown to over 450 Your CBD stores across the U.S. Your CBD store exclusively carries SunMed CBD. Rachel enjoys this more than anything because of help the products have given to her customers and the people that find success in opening a store. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thank you. How you doing?
Doing great, thanks. So,
Good.
keeping this casual and trying to get as much information out to our listeners.
Yes.
Let's talk about CBD and what it is.
Yeah, so CBD is a cannabinoid. And so like our bodies naturally produce endocannabinoids. The products help to promote your body to produce more because some of us don't like make enough of it. And so the products, they're all organic and non-GMO, but they help to get your endocannabinoid system into homeostasis. And we found with our customers, it really has been helping them tremendously. And so there's no like negative side effects. It's all natural. It's like plant medicine.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, if that was a good way to explain it. I hope that was a good way to explain CBD.
So if there's no negative side effects, what are the positive ones? Or what have you seen?
Right. So I know what I've seen in myself is with my Crohn's disease. I know we like touched on this the last time, but it was severe for about like 4 years and, uncontrolled I did different medications and I did all of this other stuff, but it was basically uncontrolled for like 4 years. And so for me, when I started taking CBD, it had, the symptoms subsided. I mean, it took a little bit, but the symptoms subsided. And so I know for me personally, Crohn's is an autoimmune disease and it also helps me personally with anxiety. And so I just had my 3rd son in August. And so when I was pregnant, I didn't take CBD while I was pregnant because, there's not enough research on it. And, for me, I just didn't know enough. And so I know it's a cannabinoid. I know that it helps to regulate, immune function in my body. And so I just didn't go there. But so I was off CBD now for a year. It'll be like almost a year in December. And I took my first water soluble yesterday, like my first dose in a year. And I was telling my husband, I'm so happy we're doing this today. Cause I was like, I really hope I have the chance to like say this to somebody that can like hear me. But so for the first time in a year, it's like my brain stopped spinning, which was incredible. Like my brain, like I stopped overthinking, because that's my anxiety and I just like overthink everything. And I told my husband, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like the first time I'm not anxious in like a year, and I wasn't anxious every day, but it would like come and go in waves. And anybody who has anxiety knows, I told my husband, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like sometimes being like a prisoner of your own mind, like, cause you just can't get out of it. But I took my first water soluble dose in like a year and I felt amazing. And so it was super positive, but there's plenty of other things that it helps our customers with, but that's just my personal testimony. Cause it just happened like 2 days ago and I was so pumped.
Yeah, that's great.
I know. I know. It was such a relief. I was like, oh, praise God. And my husband's like, oh, thank God. Because I have to deal with my anxiety, but he has to deal with my anxiety too. So, we're in this together. And so we were both just really thankful, like, oh, thank God. I mean, it took me all the way back to 2018 when I first used CBD for Crohn's and it worked. It was like, oh, thank God. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Lord. Finally.
That's awesome.
Some peace.
And so your husband travels a lot. So I bet you, so it must be a lot with all the children and upholding the household and running a business.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's everything. I mean, it's just like, every other person's life. There's just so much going on at, one time, and you're trying to be here and there. And so I have, a 7-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and now a newborn. And he just turned 3 months yesterday. And we have sports and we have school, and my husband's traveling all the time. And, so, I mean, it's just a lot, just like anybody else. It's a lot. And that to me causes, not anxiety, but I'm just always thinking about what we're going to have to do next and how we're going to get this done. And, just like anything else.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you found that kind of relief, and now we get to talk about it today.
I know. Well, too, you have 2 kids, 3 kids.
Yeah.
And, and practically a baby.
And I'm a grandma.
Yes. And you're a grandma. So, I mean, it's just, it's life. And so CBD just helps me manage it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for me, it was weird because like in the beginning, I remember the first time I went into the store and
yes.
you're like, here's a sample. And I'm just like, of course I took it because I didn't want to be rude, but in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not drinking this.
Right.
I remember I even brought it out to my car with me, and then I was slowly sipping on the way home, but I'm like, I don't need this. I didn't feel like I had any ailment that would have led me to need CBD. Well,
right.
I actually took just a small sample of the water soluble, and I just realized everything that was such a big deal wasn't a big deal anymore. And I realized I was able to talk to the children differently and go through different training patterns with them and behavior and how to treat each other and handle the businesses and what are we going to have for dinner tonight, which I did all that anyways, but just on a whole nother level. I was
totally.
Wow. Right. And it even made a huge difference with my husband, which, Rob, I mean, it made a huge difference. And in the beginning, he wasn't with it. So we had to kind of sneak it in.
Right. Just like baby steps.
But after a while, it was like, whoa, my younger daughter would be like, hey, Papa, did you take your CBD? So I was never grumpy. It's like, all right, time for your product. But
she knew what was up.
Right. Yeah. So I really like to share this with all of our listeners, because if you're out there and you're like, this isn't for me, it may not be, and you may not have any reason to take it. But what I found for myself, since I was like no reason to take it, and I didn't have like Crohn's or an autoimmune or something else that would have led me.
Right. Totally.
Right. I found relief in things that I didn't know I even had going on. And so, for instance, like picking my fingers. So like picking my fingers and the skin around them is kind of like a nervous thing. I guess. I mean, I've never looked at it like that. It's just something I do. But after,
totally.
Yeah, I noticed that I wasn't doing that anymore. So so it is different for everybody. So lots of fun stuff there. So if you're ever wondering, here we are.
Right. No, totally. That's, because it's my Crohn's disease was always the main thing that, we had talked about as far as how CBD worked for me, because that was the main reason why I opened the store. And that was the whole driving force behind starting the whole thing. But I never really get to talk about the other stuff it helped me with. But like you said, it's just life. Like you're still doing all the things you normally did, or like I'm doing all the things I would normally do without like snapping out every now and then. You know what I mean? Like you just get, it's like, it's so much. There's a certain point you just like, I'll just like, blah.
Yeah, I feel like go ahead.
No, I mean, we've known each other for a long time. So it's like, it's just like my regular life without like, snapping out and, kind of like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, I know for myself, I like to keep product with me because I definitely feel like sharing it with a friend is important sometimes.
Oh, totally.
Um,
Oh, yes.
with all that being said, Rachel, what should customers or individuals just, what should you look for when you're purchasing CBD? Can you get it anywhere, like a gas station, a CVS, a website?
Right. Yeah.
And how do you know what you're getting?
So I was just talking to my husband about this yesterday. We did like a little staycation in St. Pete, and then when we were driving home, I was like, hey, doesn't Dr. Tony, so Dr. Anthony Ferrari, he's our in-house chemist, and I was like, doesn't he talk to like Holly Bell, who's the hemp czar of Florida? And doesn't he talk to her all the time? And so my husband was like, yeah, they talk often, and this is what really kind of, before I get into what you should look for, our in-house chemist is, acquaintances with Holly Bell or in communication with her. And so we've always been up to date, and I feel like ahead of the curve as far as like the regulating that's going to start happening in Florida. And so this is just something that's really, we're really passionate about. One of our words for our business is transparency. And so, we want our customer to know, as far as like, we want to know, because we're users, we're customers of our own product. And, my family is, my mom and, your mom, we have so many people in our family too, that are customers of the product that we sell. So you want to look for third-party testing with ISO certified labs. So an ISO certified lab is an independent, non-governmental international organization, and it develops standards to ensure quality, safety, and efficiency of products, services, and systems. So it's really just, quality control. And all of our products do third-party testing with ISO certified labs. That's one thing you really want to look for. And you want to make sure that the lab reports are up to date and current. We have a QR code on our bottle. And so if you scan that QR code, it'll bring you right to the lab report for that batch of products. And there's a lot number that goes along with it that is on the product itself. So you can, match that lot number with this lab report that was printed on this date, that was done by this lab. And that's something you want to look for. I know now in the state of Florida, so we've been doing the QR codes for at least 6 months now, because we knew that they were going to start cracking. This was a new thing in Florida now. CBD has to have QR codes on it, or they're going to start cracking down. And so, like I said, that's one huge thing is transparency with our company. So it's nice too that others are being, because CBD, good CBD is a good CBD. And so we want the whole, market to look good and know and trust that a customer isn't going to get, something that isn't in the bottle. Like, nothing's going to happen. It's just not going to work. You're going to waste your money. And then you're going to think, oh, CBD is not for me. When really it could have been, and you could have really benefited from it, but you got a bad product. And so, we manufacture all of our products in food grade facilities. They're level SQF, that's level 3. That's the highest food grade certificate that is available. And so you really want to look for that too. Where's the product being manufactured? Where's the extract being mixed with the carrier to make your products? And, what kind of standards do they have? So it's SQF level 3, which is the highest you can get. So we also, not only do we lab test the extract itself, the raw material, we also lab test the finished product. And so that's another thing you want to look for, is not just a lab test on the oil, but a lab test on the actual finished product. Because we have, sometimes, I hate it for our customers, but sometimes we're out of gummies, or sometimes we're out of, I don't even know, honey sticks, or, we're waiting on a new product. But if our products do not test out, if we have a 300 milligram jar of gummies, and there's 30 gummies, and every milligram is supposed to be every gummy is supposed to be 10 milligrams a piece. If that goes to the lab and gets tested and comes back at 7 or 8 milligrams per gummy, well, that whole lot of gummies is garbage, because we're not going to give our customer a product that isn't true to what the label says. And that's something you have to look out for, because